cowlick.
Did you get your cowlick taken care of?
Yep.
I don't know. However you want your hair to be.
So that's how we start, I guess. All right. Well, hello everyone. I thought it'd be fun to sit down, do a little video, and tell us about our crazy first 2 weeks at Swift. So it all started, the last video I left off, I said we were on our way to go check out a truck. Well, we ended up rejecting that truck. It was looked like it had been ridden kind of rough. Someone had removed the refrigerator out of it, and plus also found out that it was the truck that they were using for doing road tests. So they lined us up with another truck. That one was a 2020 Volvo with 168,000 miles. And so we started with that one and went on to get our first load. So
Which proved to be a little bit of a challenge.
that was an adventure in itself. So maybe you want to tell them that part of the story.
So we're finally, hi, I'm Allison, by the way. I'm appearing in the flesh for the first time on these videos. So we finally thought we were lined up with our first load. I think it was going to be picked up, I forget where, South Carolina somewhere, and going to New York, if I recall. And so we were all excited, ready to get going with that, and in our new truck. And we had just had to find a trailer. That was the big thing. So we went to, I believe it was a Walmart DC, and we're driving around looking for a trailer, which actually proved to be kind of a tough feat. I forget how many trailers we ended up looking in the back of, and they were loaded with pallets. I mean, not just a few pallets, but yeah,
Floor to ceiling, front to back.
yeah, there was no unloading those pallets.
And it was like 6 or 8 trailers in a row.
So we finally found a trailer, but in the meantime, we had not sent back whatever macro we were supposed to send back to accept that load. So in the process of finding this trailer, we lost the load we were supposed to have originally. So they gave us another load, and then there was an issue with that. And then we thought we had another load lined up. So we drove to, I think it was South Carolina again.
No, it was, I don't remember, but I think it was just across the border from Florida.
Okay. Well, it's very close.
Yeah.
And we got to the shipper, and they were looking up the bill of lading number that we had been given, and they said, we're not really seeing this particular load. And then that's when we realized they had taken that load off of us because we submitted something wrong on our macro when we were accepting the load. It's kind of newbie mistakes, you know.
They did pay us for the mileage, though. I am very impressed on that.
Yeah, that was good.
And it was kind of on the way to where we ended up going anyways.
So they said, well, go ahead and just park here. So we went through the gate and parked and did our 30-minute break. And in the meantime, Swift got us lined up with another load. And that we were dropping off the trailer that we worked so hard to find and picking up a load at a port, like a shipping port. Mm-hmm. And I think that was in South Carolina. And it was supposed to go up to New York.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me about that
Sure.
little adventure?
So I arrived, and surprise, surprise, they didn't know what load we were talking about. So we weren't really supposed to park at the port, but they went ahead and let us park. We dropped off that trailer that we worked so hard to find. For people that don't know trucking, whenever you go to pick up a load, they always want you to bring an empty trailer to replace that trailer that you're taking out of there. Mm-hmm. So anyways, finally, after some back and forth between Swift and the shipper, we finally got a trailer number. So anyways, I spent a considerable amount of time driving around their yard trying to find this trailer. Well, I finally found the trailer, and I'm going to be trying out some new editing software today. So if it works, the picture is right there. If it doesn't work, let's just say that the landing gear, instead of pointing down, was pointing that way.
Yeah.
And it was up on sawhorses.
It was up on sawhorses.
And of course it was empty.
Yep.
So-
It wasn't loaded and it was damaged.
So I went back to the guard shack and said, that trailer ain't gonna work. It certainly would not pass DOT inspection.
Nope.
Anyways, they had no idea where this load was. They didn't know what trailer it might have been transferred to instead or anything. So I sat there overnight. Again, we weren't supposed to park there, but they said, go ahead and park anyways till we figure this out. And didn't get any answers back from the night shift. And finally, the next morning, the guard gate, or I think it was actually the shipping department at this point in time, said, why don't you go ahead and cancel that load, and we'll give you a different one to take instead. So that's what ended up happening. We finally got out of there with the load.
Yep.
So, and then that one, was that one we went to?
That was the load that instead of going to New York, then that load was going up to, I remember it was Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, because
That's
I think
right.
I know people up there. And so that load, I drove through the day, and then Mike was driving at night. We had just switched, and we were driving, well, I'll let Mike tell that story, because he got to experience the brunt of it,
What story is this again?
the Qualcomm.
Oh, that's right. Bear in mind, this is our first load, and we've been working for them for like 2 days.
First actual load. We weren't transporting air. We actually had something
we
in
hauled
the back.
air all over Florida and Georgia for a while. So anyways, I was driving, thankfully it was at night, and there wasn't a lot of traffic, but I was driving through Washington, D.C., and then we have a computer on the truck. It's called a Qualcomm. There's other brands out there too. But anyways, it gives you your GPS mapping that they want you to follow, and it also does your logs automatically. Like as soon as you pull forward in the truck, it automatically puts you down as driving and whatnot. So that way you're compliant with your hours. And it also gives you a readout at all times, how many hours you have left to legally drive. So anyways, I was driving through Washington, D.C. I think it was on I-495, and the Qualcomm froze. But not only did it just freeze, but it froze right in the middle of giving me directions to stay left on I-495 or whatever it was. So it quit right as it said I-4. And then it repeated that over and over again for like 10 minutes straight, just saying I-4, 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 I-4. Nothing I could do.
You couldn't shut it up. You couldn't turn the
I
volume
couldn't turn
off.
it off. I couldn't adjust the volume, nothing. It was just screaming, I-4, 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 as I was driving through Washington, D.C. with all these interchanges and stuff like that. And
And it was the blue screen of death on the
Yeah.
screen. Like it was blue. It looked
Yeah.
like the blue screen of death with the computer code and stuff on it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh crap, what do we do now?
So I do have another GPS app called Trucker Path that gives you truck-friendly routes as well. And sometimes I use that. I'll at least have it loaded on the phone because if I need to, that can tell us where truck stops and things like that are in case we need to stop. So anyways, I had Allison pull that out. At least got me out of Washington, D.C. And finally, the Qualcomm reset itself and came back on. Allison had actually called Swift to see if we needed to start doing paper logs, but
Yeah.
they said no, it'll update once it comes back on again.
I was starting to think, oh shoot, now because it went to the blue screen of death, screaming at us, I-4, 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 I-4 over and again. We wanted to
Yeah.
beat our heads into the wall, but
Yeah,
I was thinking, and then it turned off. And it
Yeah.
was completely, there was nothing there, no sign of life. I was like,
Oh, it's
crap,
crazy.
this is the only way that we're able to keep track of our logs.
yeah,
And so I'm running around looking for the paper logs, and I'm trying to figure out what city we were in and what time did it start. I know it started at 11:30 because that's the time I was going to start the logs at. And I called and talked to the folks at Swift, and they said, oh no, we're still showing Mike is driving and that you're supposedly I was in the sleeper berth, but at that point I was definitely not in the sleeper
Yeah.
berth.
I
I was
think-
trying to figure this whole thing out.
I think you had just gone to bed.
Yeah.
But then you're like, what's that noise? I was like,
So-
I'm having troubles with the computer.
Yeah, it
the
was
Qualcomm.
it was pretty wild. And in Washington D.C. of all places, I'm seeing signs
Yeah.
for Dulles International Airport and stuff like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mike.
So anyways, that finally reset. And I think we made that delivery or pickup or whatever it was. And that's when we went to New York. It was actually Rochester, New York. You might have seen some of our pictures of the leaves. And
And we might be able to edit some of those
yeah,
in,
if
possibly.
I can, like I said, I'm going to download Filmora. It's actually a video editing software that I've been reading about. I'm going to give that a try and see if I could get some of those pictures in there for you as well. If not, look us up on Facebook.
And that was an absolutely beautiful couple days. We were traveling through northeastern Pennsylvania, southern New York, and it was just like picture perfect weather, sunshine, no wind, and just the leaves were incredible. It was kind of like God was saying, okay, here's a little gift for you after your kind of difficult last few days. You know, I'm going to give you a beautiful couple days just to enjoy the leaves, and we definitely took it and enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah. Plus the weather was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So then I believe after that we finally got a team run. And what I mean by team run is, you know, something with enough miles that it really makes sense for two drivers to do it. So that was going to, what part of Texas?
Paris, Texas.
Yeah, Paris, Texas.
Yep.
So I'll let her tell that story because she's the Texas lady.
So I love Texas, as you can see. I'm even wearing a Texas shirt today. I didn't plan that, but it's the way it worked out. But so we got this run from New York going down to Paris, Texas, and then a pickup from there going to Alabama. So, but we did have a couple snafus along the way with that, as far as we didn't do our macros right, and they didn't realize we had delivered the load, and we were basically, according to them, had no
Yeah.
trailer attached to us, and we were driving already to our next load, and they're asking us, so
I'm pretty sure there's a trailer back there last time I looked. I mean, it's still there.
we were getting trailer not attached,
Yeah.
trailer not attached, and we thought this is some kind of a warning saying that our fifth wheel was not engaged correctly and we were going to lose our trailer going down the road. So we actually unhooked and everything from the fifth wheel. We reattached to the trailer. We checked all the connections. We didn't realize it was on their end. They didn't even realize.
It turned out not to be anything to do
Yeah.
with the trailer being attached or not attached.
Right. All this technology.
Yeah. But the funny thing was is that we had sent in the macro that we had arrived and dropped, but I think something got messed up the day before, and I don't think they had. I don't quite understand totally what happened, but essentially what had happened was the macro got rejected, and macros are basically in a computer. It's pre-canned text. You just put in the little bit that you need to and send it. So they did not realize that we had already arrived and delivered in Paris. So as we're driving back to, we're going to Atlanta, Georgia after that, I get a message saying, well, they're asking for, you know, the macros for Paris, basically asking us if we'd gotten to Paris yet.
And we're like, well, we're actually kind of like halfway to our next
Yeah. So they
drop.
Yeah. So, you know, supposedly they, you know, watch these trucks 24/7, and they didn't realize that we had already made it to Paris, dropped off our load, picked up our next load, and we're already 200 miles on our way to the next destination.
Right.
Before they got around to thinking, the Myers, I wonder if they dropped off that load yet, or if they're really late.
Kind of had us scratching our heads, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, so now we know, we're learning how to do all of these macros and in the correct order, and we need to hear back a certain thing before we move to the next thing, and it's a learning process. You know, we've been having a lot of newbie mistakes along the way.
You go over that stuff in training, but you go over a lot of stuff in training, and some things had been out of order and different at the last stop, and I think that screwed up for that one.
But we did have again, a reward in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
We were going to get together with my good friend Casey Fox, and if you're on there, hey, we'll get together with you next time, hopefully. But we knew we'd be passing right through Tyler area on I-20 East, and I had been jonesing for one of those awesome hubcap burgers. I think it's like the ultimate Texas burger or something like that, at the Dinner Bell in Van, Texas. Shout out to them.
If I can get it to work.
Yep, we'll put some pictures on there, one way or the other.
Yum.
But we had enjoyed this burger a few years ago, and I was like, Mike, we got to stop and have another hubcap burger, or ultimate Texas burger, or whatever they call it nowadays. It's a pound of hamburger, and they make the bun like homemade, and it's huge. And so they cut it into quarters, and so basically it was almost like we're eating 2 hamburgers a piece with this monster burger. And with all the fixings, but then we also
It was
got
delicious.
it was delicious. And
Homemade bun.
we got like a bunch of food to go to.
It was really cheap.
Yeah, it was less than 50
It was,
bucks for
it was
everything.
$13 for that hamburger.
Yeah, huge. I mean, I'm serious. Like the burger like
Yeah.
would fit my hand, like would fit inside the imprint of the burger on this plate. It was huge.
Mm-hmm.
The burger, onion rings, fries. We got pies for dessert, and we got soups to go, and I got some vegetables. I mean, all this stuff. But we got a bunch of stuff to go too, that we enjoyed. You know, with some home cooked stuff. But it was like less than 50 bucks for everything,
Yeah.
and drinks. Yeah. So the Dinner Bell in Van, Texas, got to give them a shout out because they're
Yeah.
amazing. Really nice people too that work there. So that was kind of our reward, again, for some of our trouble.
Yeah.
As much as we can, we try to have little perks along the way, right?
Yeah. So, anyways, we were on our way to Atlanta. We had a load there, and we had been beginning to have some issues with our truck. There were some error messages for the ECU, the engine control unit management system, and because that wasn't working correctly, our ABS was out, and so was our cruise control.
That was fun driving without cruise for hours.
Yeah, and the ABS is, we were raining. We were driving through some rainstorms and things like that, and with the winter coming up, you really do want ABS on these trucks and the trailers. So,
And
some
not to
other
mention
issues.
the latch.
Yeah, the latch in our refrigerator broke, which
And
is, this refrigerator is like one of the whole reasons why I wanted a Volvo, because they're big. They're much bigger refrigerator than what you get in some of the other trucks. But apparently they put a cheap plastic latch on them because that broke. And apparently that's not the only place they put cheap plastic latches, because I was also having troubles with the hood latch. And I was worried that I would break that off. So after we dropped off our load in Decatur, which is in a suburb of Atlanta, I contacted Swift and said, hey, our hood won't unlatch and open, which means we can't do a proper pre-trip or post-trip, and just mention some of these other things. So they routed us. We were only like 15 miles away from the hub in Atlanta, so we went there and spent 2 full days with the truck in the shop. All they did was fix the ECU.
And put a little grease on the hood latch.
Yeah, they did get the hood latch working. That's right.
Yeah.
But they completely ignored and refused to do anything about the refrigerator.
And then the idling issue.
Yeah.
That's the.
So semi trucks are now designed to not idle. Basically, if you're between a certain temperature, after like maybe 5 minutes, the truck automatically shuts itself off. I think in the summer, if it's below 80 degrees, or I'm sorry, above 80 degrees, or in the winter, if it's below maybe 40, I forget, then the truck will go ahead and idle. And it wasn't too bad of a problem up in this point as far as the temperature goes. I mean, being up in New York and stuff, it was actually pretty nice out. And then we were driving through Texas and stuff. So, but the issue I was having on some of these days where we were stopped and I was having to sleep was I have a CPAP, and then I also sleep with a fan on, which I guess you could learn to go without the fan, but it sure does help.
It's a lot harder to
Especially out
sleep
there,
without a fan.
especially out there in the truck. And it's, it might be 80 degrees or 79 degrees outside, but it's 95, 100 degrees inside that truck. So
And
anyways,
just the noise factor too.
yeah, the noise factor. So anyways, I had complained about that and said, these trucks, I thought they were supposed to turn themselves back on in order to protect the batteries. Well, I didn't realize it, but this truck did not have that system installed. So once it would shut off, it would just shut off. And then about an hour after the truck would shut off, it would turn off the electronics to like all the cigarette lighters. So that would turn off our fan. And then maybe about an hour after that, it would turn off all the all the electricity, which would turn off my CPAP. So after
The
that would
fridge
happen,
that we ended up
yeah.
having to buy, the other fridge we had to buy, but that's
Yeah.
another story.
So granted, yes, the extra refrigerator and the fan and the CPAP are probably running down the batteries faster than if I just had the CPAP only on. But you know, we live in this truck. So basically, you know, after that first couple hours of sleep, every 45 minutes you'd have to get up and start the engine. And then in order to charge the batteries enough to get some more sleep, you'd have to like babysit the throttle. You know, when it would start shutting down, you'd have to tap the throttle to turn it back on.
Ugh.
So I would spend like 15 minutes, you know, charging the batteries a little bit and then go back to bed. And then 45 minutes later, they'd be dead again. So anyways, at the Atlanta terminal, they refused to do anything about it. So got a hold of the driver leader, explained what was going on, saying, you know, I am, you know, when I had my sleep study, I quit breathing like 70 times an hour. I told him not being able to have my CPAP on is not acceptable, period. I can't, you know, it's not a safe way to drive. So anyways,
It was making you tired at night,
yeah,
too.
it was getting harder and harder for me to stay awake at night while I was driving, you know, just because of getting tired. So anyways, she said, well, they won't give you any trucks at the Atlanta terminal, but we'll give you a load coming down to Florida so that we can switch you out your truck there. You know, I told them, I said, either we need to go to a Volvo dealership and get this system installed, or we need a new truck, period. So he said, well, we'll give you a new truck. So they gave us another load to go pick up in Savannah, Georgia. And we had to be there by 5 p.m. because the place was closing. And this was a Friday afternoon. Well, the problem was, remember the first day we left, we had troubles with the trailer.
Yep.
So the first place we went, it took us a little while to get there. Looked all around, no trailers.
Ugh.
So we sat there, waited a while. They finally gave us another location. Drove to that location. I think even that was a couple hours.
That location didn't
Yeah.
exist.
It turned out to be an intersection out in the middle of the damn country. Now that maybe that warehouse was somewhere out there in the country. We drove around for a while trying to find it. And finally we stopped. It wasn't where we were supposed to go, but we stopped at I think it was either GE or General Mills, I forget.
It was
And
right next door to this.
Yeah.
This address had been given. I think
Yeah.
it was General Mills.
So we called them and said, did you guys mean General Mills by any chance? And they said, no. But they did say, hey, since you're there, why don't you ask them if they have a trailer? So so we had spent hours, like basically all day. Doesn't sound like it'd be all day, but you know, driving here, driving there, and waiting on the phone and things like that. I did forget to mention the first place we went to that didn't have trailers. We were one of like 4 or 5 other Swift
Yeah.
trucks, all driving around trying to find trailers. And it was kind of funny because basically like we were behind another truck, and after a while it's kind of like, well, I guess we could just let them get out and look at all the trailers to see if they're empty. I mean,
have
obviously,
Swift- yeah, they have-
obviously, if he gets back in his cab and drives on to the next one, that means that trailer's empty. I'm not empty, I mean.
Right. They had all kinds of trailers. They just had seals on them.
Yeah, they
so,
were all full.
Yeah.
I found one empty. I found one trailer that didn't have a seal. And I was like, yes, it's empty. And then opened it up, and sure enough, there was a load in there. So it was just some crazy stuff happening this
Well,
week.
we're in what's called the blitz season right now, going into the
Yeah.
holidays. So it is kind of crazy and
Yeah.
hard to find trailers. So
Yeah, so that was the first place. I told them, yep, there's no trailers here. In fact, there's a bunch of other Swift drivers all looking for trailers. So you would think a company this big, maybe that's the problem, maybe they're too big, would know where their trailers are at. But anyways,
or their trucks, or
Yeah.
whether the drivers have dropped their trailers off and gone to another load. But
Yeah.
anyways,
so where were we? That's right, we were at the GE or the General Mills or whatever it was.
yeah.
And they said, go ahead and ask if they have a trailer. And they did. In fact, it was pretty cool because one of the yard dogs, they got like these little tiny semi trucks, I guess you could describe it as, that go move trailers around. They actually delivered us trailer. They brought it right to us, which was pretty cool. And got hooked up to that. And then we busted tail. Now, I even sent a message to the dispatcher saying, hey, we're not going to make it by 5 o'clock. Can you call and see if they're in fact actually closing at 5? And they're like, oh, it should be fine. You know, we'll send a message, tell them you're on the way. You should be fine. Go ahead and go.
Right.
So that was like a 3 or 4 hour drive in itself. Got there, gates closed, it's locked. Plus they have one of them yard dogs I just mentioned parked in front of it. So you're definitely not getting through there. And there were a couple of employees that were just leaving. They said, yeah, we're closed. We don't open again until Monday.
Monday at 8 a.m. I was like, nope, that's not going to
And,
work.
you know, it was Friday, and we were actually kind of looking forward to get home for the weekend. And so I fully expected Swift to say, I'm sorry, it's Friday afternoon. We'll see if we can find you something tomorrow. Just go to the closest truck stop. And, oh, gee, you might have to wait till Monday to pick it up or something like that. I thought maybe we'd be sitting in a truck stop all weekend with a truck that won't let us sleep.
Yeah.
Actually, if that's the case, since we're in Savannah, I probably would have just gotten a hotel on the beach somewhere.
Right.
So I guess that would have been
exploring.
I guess that would have been a win-win situation. But anyways, I was really impressed with Swiftville. Like 10 minutes later, they called us back, and they had a Walmart load. So Walmart to the rescue.
Yeah.
They were only like 11 miles away, and that load they allowed us to bring it down to the Ocala, Florida terminal, and drop off the trailer there for someone else to bring it to Miami. So
So they did come through for us. They got us down to Ocala.
yeah,
It was like early morning, Saturday morning, I think, by the time we
Yeah.
got in there. But
and unfortunately, I wasn't too happy about this, and I won't get into all the details, but there was some back and forth between me and the managers about I'll just say there was some pushback about us actually getting another truck.
yeah,
But, you know, it's something I just had to put my foot down and say, hey, you know, you need to provide a vehicle that will run my CPAP, period.
yeah, it's a medical necessity. You need to have that.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's.
anyways, I don't
Should
know
we
if I'm...
tell
I
them
don't
about
know
our
if
new truck?
Yeah, so,
We went from a 19 to a 20, and now we're looking at 21.
yeah, a 2021 Volvo. There's only 35,000 miles on it, and apparently what happened was another driver drove it for 35,000 miles, and he left the company. So this truck, it hadn't been through the processing yet to go from one driver to the next. So they did need the truck for a couple of days to do that. And I did verify, it did indeed have the idle system, where not only will it maintain a comfortable temperature range in the sleeper, but it'll also turn the truck on to protect the batteries. But of course the system wasn't working.
It needed some parts to be ordered.
Yeah, it kept saying,
Which we're still waiting for, by
there's
the
a
way.
little tablet in the back, and on there you set your temperature and all that. And it kept saying disconnected. Now it might be as simple as a USB port, I don't know. But so we put it in the shop, and we're waiting for parts. So hopefully what we're hoping is that those parts come tomorrow, and they said it'll literally be like 30 minutes for them to install it. But I am crossing my fingers hoping that this truck works, because it didn't sound like they had much else available.
Right. Yeah.
So they actually have what appears to me like a whole row of brand new trucks that haven't been processed yet. For their brand new trucks, they have to process them. They have to put in all their safety equipment. You know, the lane, the safety cameras. There's a forward-facing safety camera on all the trucks and things like that. But I think they are pushing to get all their used trucks out there before they start releasing new trucks.
And they like to give those used trucks to their newer drivers,
Exactly.
I've noticed.
Yeah, yeah. All right, sorry about that little cut. The cameras nowadays, after 30 minutes, they automatically shut off the recording. And I had no idea the video was going to go on that long. I thought it'd be like 5 minutes or something.
We
So-
like to gab, apparently.
So anyways, if you liked this story, and if you want more in the future, or if you just want to follow the ventures of a husband and wife trucking team, I ask you to subscribe to our channel and watch for future updates.
Thank you so much. We're the Meyers and Mike and Allison.
Bye-bye.